All right, we're back, everyone. Another great episode of Good Mom. So thank you so much for tuning in and being with myself and Lindsay as we spill our guts about every crazy parenting thing we're going through.
Totally true. Yes, yes.
Right. And so today we're going to talk about your kid's boyfriend or girlfriend and what happens when maybe you don't quite agree with their choices in life, but you're trying to be a supportive parent and you're trying to go with the flow. And Lindsay, I have to tell you, I'm just at the very beginning stages of this. So my kids, like my boys, my oldest is in high school, but he isn't even really it's like he doesn't even see girls right now. I was so boy crazy during that time. It's like, I don't know. Obviously, boys are a little bit different, but he's not even. It's like he's into football, and I ask him all the time. I'm like, so, are there any cute girls in your classes this year? And he's like, no, Mom, they all do this, this, this. He's like not attracted to any of them. I'm like, okay, whatever. But I do have a story that I'll share later about my girls because I've already experienced it with my 11-year-old girls.
Oh my gosh. And it's happening so much faster these days
too.
Oh my stars.
It is.
Well, I first have to just say right out of the chutes that I'm one of the luckiest moms out there because my son-in-law is honestly the greatest person my daughter could have picked. So I'm just going to go with that as a starting place because I'm lucky. And I know I'm lucky with all the other moms I talk to and work with who are like, oh, I don't know about this guy, and whatever. So first, let's kind of divide it out a little. And I'm glad you started with your boys.
Okay.
Because I think it is slightly different for moms with boys than girls.
Okay.
All right. And I've just noticed this little pattern. Boys don't want to tell their moms diddle about the girls that they're interested in or that they're going to take out. No. Every once in a blue moon in their teen years, they'll say, oh, I think I'm going to ask so-and-so to the dads. Okay, that's cool. And mom goes, yay, who is she, right? And then you don't know anything about her until you find out from one of their friends that they've been dating for 6 months. Like, you have no idea. They're so much more tight-lipped. And it's not all boys, but in general, on a bell curve, you'd see more boys doing that.
Yeah.
Girls will tell you almost instantaneously, oh, I'm interested in that guy. He's pretty cute, and they'll tell their moms, but they might not tell their dads because it's a little more scary,
Yes.
and dads might say, you're not talking to boys until you're 90, that's what dads usually
Pretty much.
Right? So there is a little tricky balance if you want to get your boys to talk to you about their girlfriends. And I think it's harder for moms. I just spent the weekend in Nashville with some friends, and moms who have boys end up with daughters-in-law. And being a daughter-in-law to a mother-in-law is a really complicated relationship. And for the mom, it's especially hard. You don't know what you're going to get. Daughters-in-law might want to be a little more controlling of the family dynamic so their son no longer talks to their mom, And it's rough. It's a hard place to be when that actually happens. So I just bring it in the field that if you want to get along with your son or daughter, the best thing you can do is to try to find out what that person brings out in them that they like. What is it? What is your boyfriend or girlfriend? What is this person you're dating bringing out in you that you really like? Because if you keep asking that question, they're learning how to love themselves also while being, essentially getting affection from someone else.
Yeah.
So I'll stop there for a minute because you look like you have something you want to say, but I think it's fascinating.
It is fascinating. And, to go along with that, if nothing good is coming out of them or you feel like they are changing in a way that is very bad as a result of this relationship, that is a clue as well. We kind of have to navigate that and figure out when is it time to step in. So I mentioned my girls and how I've already had to go through, with one of the girls, I've had to go through this, but this was a couple years ago, Lindsay. So,
oh my gosh, so she's 11 now and it was just 9.
Yeah, so I homeschool them now. So this is not an issue we've got to deal with a lot just because they're not in a typical school setting. Yeah. But I want to say this was like second grade.
Oh my
And
gosh.
there was a boy that had a crush on one of my girls. And he was full on courting her. Okay. This was every day. There was a new item she was coming home with, teddy bears and candy and
Oh my
chocolates.
gosh.
And Lindsay, there was a ring. There was a ring. Now, not a
Was
fancy
it from
ring.
a Cracker Jack box?
No. I mean, I actually never saw the ring because it was intercepted by the teacher.
Oh my.
But I
Oh
was like,
my.
I
Yeah.
did talk. So they were in the same class.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair.
And I ended up reaching out to the teacher because all this stuff was coming home with my daughter.
Yeah.
And she is a little flirt. My daughter, let me just tell
Oh.
you,
Yeah.
you
You're
know,
on
I
her.
I have to, and my husband too. We really have to watch her throughout her life, okay? And she's beautiful. And
Mhm.
so, you know.
Yeah.
So she was coming home with all this stuff. So I reached out to the teacher because I thought surely the teacher saw something in class and can clue me in on, all this craziness.
Yeah.
And the teacher really didn't think the ring was a big deal. And I was just like,
Oh
I
my.
don't want that ring coming home. I don't want to have anything to do with that. Like, I was bringing it up, like, I'm very uncomfortable with this. I
Yeah.
didn't know the boy at all.
Yeah.
And suddenly he's giving my daughter a ring. And I
Yeah.
was like, no, 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 we're not doing this.
At
So,
9 years old?
and, I mean,
Yeah.
I think she was younger than that. How old are you in second grade?
8 or 9,
Eight or
depending on.
nine? I
Yeah.
think she might have been eight, honestly.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a situation I didn't feel very comfortable with. And eventually it faded because my daughter didn't really handle the situation very well. I mean, again, she was 8 or 9 years old, right?
Yeah.
But she grew to expect that kind of stuff from this boy instead of really appreciating it. And eventually the
Mm.
boy thought she was using him, which I think she kind of was. I think she kind of turned into a mean girl there for a little bit.
Uh-oh.
And it just the relationship
Yeah.
fizzled.
The
And that
infatuation left. Yes. Hmm.
exactly. It
Yeah.
just kind of went away. But I was like, I was not prepared at 8 or 9 years old to have
Yeah.
to deal with this. And it
Yeah.
just happened so fast. And I was like, what is going on? But
That
it,
is.
it can. It can happen. These kids, they're watching, YouTube videos and, there's channels out there, boyfriend, girlfriend, this. So I think they're exposed to this, dating or,
Oh, it's
liking
all
someone, having a
over the
crush.
internet. I mean, good gravy. That's what they see all day, every day. I'm with you. I think 8 is way too young to even have a boyfriend girlfriend scene. Like, can't you just be friends and play soccer? I mean, really, like, what's the deal? I don't know. But I think when you do get to be teenagers, somewhere in the 15, 16, I was saying to my kids, you do need to kiss a lot of frogs. And I don't mean that disrespectfully to the other kids, but it's more
Yeah.
like you need to know that the person that you're with brings out the best in you and takes you to new places of epic awareness in yourself. If
Yeah.
you're not growing, if you're not reaching, if you're not developing, this is not a person that really is your person.
Right.
And I think that's hard to know when you're young and you've only ever had one boyfriend, one girlfriend, or whatever.
Yes,
So,
that's true.
I kind of love that the 8-year-old was going for it. You bring those skills on, buddy guy, and maybe, maybe we can have a little class for him and for moms who have absolutely dapper and wonderful courting young men that they're raising, because raising a young man today is really hard.
That's true.
Really, really hard. You've got 2 of them. I have one. Not easy. They are
Yeah.
up against a lot of different inputs, and I think that it's, I just want to empathize with all you moms out there with young, handsome, dapper, and really good-souled humans.
We want to protect our kids, but at the same time, you have to let them make their own choices.
You
And
do.
sometimes you just kind of got to go through with it. And I know it was tough for my parents because I went through a period of time where I dated really poor, it was just bad choices,
Yeah.
really bad choices. And my mom loves to bring this up. There was like a 2 or 3 year stretch
That's
before
awesome.
I
Yes,
married
of
my
course.
husband.
Yeah. She's going to use that against you. Oh, that's the other thing to remember, parents. You'll have good fodder for the Christmas dinners about 20 years from now. It'll be great.
It's true. It's true. But
Yeah,
I had to go through that and I had to learn. And I know that was tough for my parents to watch me go through that because
for sure.
I was just excited. It was a new relationship, whatever. And they could see, oh, this is not going to work. This is a train wreck in the making. And I
Yep.
know, like, I would check in with my mom because I was older, I moved out
Right.
of the house by this time. And I could tell that she was following up, but she was letting me make my own choices and letting me go through this process. And I know it wasn't easy on her, but had I not gone through that, but by the time I met my husband, I had a list of what I wanted and what I didn't want.
There
And
you go.
that list was created because I kissed a few frogs,
That
right?
is that is the greatest advantage to
Yeah,
allowing your kids to make mistakes, especially when they're young. The younger you are, if you will, not 8 maybe, but let's just say 16, 17, 18,
yeah,
the younger you are, the more you can date and learn how to effectively date. The way better off you're going to be when you actually are ready to find that partner you want to settle down with. And, as a parent, it's hard. Just like you said, what love is it's a reflection back of who we are. And
yeah,
so whatever your child is choosing, if they're choosing like Sunny, the crazy boys that want to do all the wild stuff, that's part of Sunny.
it
And
is.
she was exploring that part of herself through that person who could love her back from that point of view. It's
Yeah,
the same idea, so no matter what, you're going to date some that work and some that don't. And that's really important as parents
right.
to let it be as much as
Let
you
it
can.
happen.
And now it is also true, and I want to just share. Sometimes there are genuinely people that are no good for your kid,
Mm,
and
mm.
you can see it. And if it's leading to things like addictions,
Yes.
gang behavior, other things that are just, really socially not acceptable in our society if we want to live I'll call it the good life. And in those cases, I do think it's important to really say something to your kid
Hmm.
that has teeth to it that you are willing to follow through with. Do not make any kind of, what would you call that, ultimatums or whatever,
Right.
if you're unwilling to follow through,
Right.
because they just continually go and go and go. And I have many examples. I won't embarrass anyone in my world, but many friends who have had kids that have had gone down that trail, and they said, if this is your choice, then my choice is you will no longer live in my home.
Right. Right.
And
That's
whew,
tough.
it's eye-opening and it's scary, and the kids do sometimes have to go.
Hmm.
And many of them came back. Many of them came back and they realized, okay, I really understand what you're saying, right? So it's hard. It's never
Hmm.
easy to just know exactly what to do, but one thing is for sure, let your kid love who they love and ask
Hmm.
them, how is this person bringing out the best in you? That's all I can say about that.